So today, let's see, it's week 4, day 3. Um, and yeah, like I was saying, it is our first day of jumping into the weather portion of the class. So just kind of, if you guys want to unmute or whatever, what's your overall interest just as a, individually? How many of you guys are, like looking or like talking or are interested in weather?
Me,
Sierra,
I'm a full-blown weather junkie.
cool, cool. Anybody else a weather junkie out there?
Uh,
I
Middle-ish.
like watching it,
You like watching it?
like thunderstorms and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't
I'm a
don't
storm chaser.
pay attention to it.
Love to go chasing storms. I don't know how to do it very well.
You're a storm
Hopefully,
chaser, Corey, you say?
yeah. Anytime there's a storm, we live down here on Bloomington Hills, and anytime a storm comes rolling up from the south, we'll jump in the car and go chase it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the
Yeah,
one thing
yeah,
about
I've
St.
always,
George is it it doesn't seem like we get enough of it. If, I always thought that we were kind of, you know, the thunderstorm, we would get, obviously there's that certain time of year where we get them more, but just in general, we don't really get to see that much. So I was the same thing. I always would go outside or go, cruising around in the car to, see if I could get kind of a better view of it. Took some pretty cool pictures, especially like, clouds and stuff like that. Moving up like Pine Valley Mountain up there. And yeah,
So pretty.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
One of the things that. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
are you sure? Oh, mine was not really important. I just said like I'll download like extreme weather documentaries and like listen to them when I'm at work all the time.
cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that uh, the thing I enjoy is when it's like pitch black outside because of all the clouds, and then all of a sudden you just see a big flashing light. Just you don't know where it was. You don't know where it was. It's just somewhere in the sky, just lit up the whole sky. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
like seeing that.
Rack of lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you guys feel like you understand about weather? Like as far as like how weather works and like the theory, I guess, behind weather in general.
Um, I mean, I think I know a decent amount. I don't know if I know exactly what I need to do this job exactly, but I feel like I know a decent amount.
Cool. And
Like, I don't know, enough to carry on a conversation at the very least.
yeah, yeah.
Just a point of interest, I grew up for the first part of my life in Texas, just outside of Dallas. And in grade school, we had one day a week where we would learn weather training. And it basically was centered around how hard it can rain just out of nowhere and dump, 10 inches. Or also the evolution of tornadoes and how to predict, how to know when they're imminent and what to do. And we always had to run to the wall and stick your head down the drills and all that. And I remember when we were leaving from one of the drills back home, my parents were driving us home, just got black, started dumping water. We pulled over, you couldn't see, and the windows just started pulsating, and it just black and couldn't see, and then it just stopped and blew by. And then we got back on the freeway and started driving. Just in the middle of the median, there was a single wide trailer, end to end, that had just been, lawn dart right into the ground. So it's just, I think that was my initial interest in just how powerful and amazing weather is, how those storm drains in Texas would fill 11 feet of water in a matter of 10 minutes. It's just pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Where did you say you grew up?
First part of my life in Dallas, just outside Dallas. So
Oh yeah, then yeah, you definitely see the
it's
severe
yeah,
weather.
it's weather mecca there. I mean, we'd probably have in tornado season, we'd probably have about 15 uh, two alarm trips to the basement of schools. You know,
Wow.
you'd get the black skies and the windows would be shaking, and it'd stop, and then sirens would go off in the town, and everybody would pile into their cars and go sit in the basement for 3 hours. You know, let it pass by, and then go back home, go to bed. So it was kind of rather routine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that get a lot of crazy. I mean, yeah, just like, yeah, this whole area, you know, like obviously I said I'm in Oklahoma City right now, but yeah, between here and Dallas especially, it's, yeah, just tornado haven in here. So, yeah, I was telling a few of you guys, I think the other day maybe, but as I was coming down here, flying in from Louisville last week, and granted, this is, you know, that was February 6th, so you know, first week of February, and Dallas had thunderstorms going on, you know, and bad enough to the extent that my flight actually had to divert to Wichita, Kansas. So, yeah, I mean, that's just, it's not normal, you know, and I've obviously been around weather and airplanes, you know, now for several years, and I can tell you that thunderstorms in February are not normal, even in Dallas. And so it just was rare, you know, weird. I mean, I was sitting on the plane, and you know, the crew comes over the intercom and, hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we unfortunately Dallas is having some, well, you know, weather thunderstorm issues, and we're diverting to Wichita, Kansas. I wish they would have just diverted to Oklahoma City, since that's where I was headed and it was closer. However, we went to Wichita, Kansas. So we sat in Wichita for about 3 hours or so until air traffic control, you know, let us, you know, we got gas and everything, and they let us back up in the air and continued on to Dallas. And then, you know, I was thinking I was going to miss my Dallas to Oklahoma City flight, but they ended up getting me on a later one and ended up getting to Oklahoma City about 1 in the morning here local time. So, but yeah, you know, thunderstorms, first week of February. So, seemed a little
We
crazy.
had, my brother bought his first car, I remember, I think a Grand Am or something like that, bought his first car, and he came to pick me up from school, and he got there, and his car was just destroyed. I mean, it looked like a billion golf balls had just pounded it.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, what happened to you? And he says, well, didn't it hit you? And I'm, no, it didn't hit me. And it was like 3 blocks away. It just destroyed his car. I mean, there was not 1 square inch without a major dent. It was just destroyed. And then about 2 weeks later, all the paint peeled off, and we didn't see a thing. We were over there in the sunshine. That's just how violent and crazy you get your annual Utah rainfall in about 10 minutes there. Just
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It's just wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Everything I know, you know, out this way, you know, I was talking to somebody that lives here in Oklahoma City, but yeah, everything like, you know, homeowners insurance rates, car insurance rates, everything here is so much higher. You know, you pay so much more than like you would in St. George, just simply because of the weather. So, um, even for me moving from St. George to Kentucky, like everything, you know, homeowners insurance, car insurance was way more, even in Kentucky, but I know it's even a lot more in Texas and Oklahoma. So, yeah, it's
One look
crazy.
at his car, and you'd know exactly why.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Destroyed his car.
You know, one thing I always enjoyed about St. George too is, you know, with it being such a dry area that you'd get one of those thunderstorms rolling through. I loved the flash flood stuff. Not obviously not the negative parts of it, you know, where people are, you know, getting their houses flooded and things like that. But just like seeing how quickly that water, you know, because in St. George, you know, the water does not absorb well into the ground at all. It just does not have that absorption, you know, like you do even like out here or, you know, most parts of the country. Like in St. George, it just turns into a river, you know, and just all that water rushing down the streets. And that was one thing I always liked seeing out there. So, but yeah, I love thunderstorms out there. Um, when I was, you know, I grew up in northern Utah, but I remember one of my first things that like kind of got me like interested in weather was was a Sunday afternoon, and we were all just kind of sitting around in our house, and one of the northern Utah thunderstorms starts building up and rolling in, and we were just sitting there watching TV or something, and then suddenly a huge lightning strike, literally right outside our door. It actually hit our next door neighbor's house, and nobody was home at their house, but it hit their house, and it started an attic fire inside of their house. And but when the actual bolt of lightning struck, and then that thunder, right after it, I mean, our entire house shook. We knew that it was, within feet from our house, and so of course, being all inquisitive, me and my brothers and sisters, we all run outside, and whoa, that was so cool, and start looking around, and then we start seeing the smoke coming out of the little attic vents from our neighbor's house. We go over there and start pounding on the door to let them know, but nobody was home. So we then kind of thought like, oh man, well, if lightning hit their house, maybe it could have knocked them out, or if they were like on any sort of a electronic device or anything like that, or the phone, you never know. Like if they were holding something in the house, it could, obviously the bolt of lightning could have traveled right through and maybe electrocuted somebody. And so we ended up like kicking the door in and going into the house just to make sure there was nobody in that house. And luckily there wasn't. Like I said, nobody was home. And anyway, so we called 911 and get them kind of rolling that way. And once we kind of realized there was nobody in the house, we went back outside, just kind of out into the road. And I kid you not, no more than 2 minutes probably after we had walked back outside, that entire house was in flames. I mean, it was nearly a complete loss before the fire department could even arrive. It's how fast that house went. I mean, obviously an attic fire, catching into that insulation and things like that, just the combustibles that are up there. I mean, that house, it was, like I said, it was too big and, too ferocious even before the fire department even arrived. Like it just was not going to be saved no matter what. And the thing literally burnt to the ground. But that was kind of one of my first like big, like wow moments for weather, and like, I can't, I couldn't believe that happened, and the news and everybody's there and they're all interviewing us, and, I got my little 15 seconds of fame as well. So, but yeah, that was kind of my first thing. That was kind of the thing that made me interested in weather. And kind of from then on, I've always just been like a weather junkie. Just everything about it. Like, whether it, I like the severe weather stuff, but I also enjoy kind of studying, even just the patterns. Like even when we were in St. George, I used to love like when August would roll around, because you got those, June and July are so hot. But for some reason, August, I mean, it's still hot, but because you get that monsoonal effect, in the southwestern United States, you don't even get it. Like, even if you go north of, gosh, even Cedar City doesn't get it like this, but like it's like it almost like the boundary is like between Cedar City and St. George, but like the rest of the Southwest United States, you get those monsoonal rains that start rolling in end of July into August, and that's like my favorite time of year. But just knowing why that happens and being able to understand, what is it that causes that effect? Like, how do we know that every year at that time, you're going to get that rain, you're going to get, those different weather pattern changes and things like that. And some are easier to predict than others, but just the whole philosophy and theory behind that just has always interested me. So yeah, so those of you guys that enjoy weather, then you're really going to enjoy this section. And it is a lengthy section. I mean, we're going to spend, well over, I think probably 6 or 7 full classes on weather at least. So, but yeah, today is just day 1 of that, and kind of have a little bit of a treat in store, I guess, for you guys. The one thing that is nice about talking about weather is that there is so much information out there on YouTube and from like even just from a reading standpoint, there is a lot of information that is so useful and so helpful in watching and reading and kind of to understand weather in general. That we've got in this section we have a lot that just to forewarn you guys, this section does have a good amount of reading. I know there hasn't been a ton up to now, but this section does have a pretty good chunk. But at the same time, just to kind of offset that a little bit, there's also a lot of really, really, really good videos that you'll get to watch in this section. Videos that do a far, far better job of talking about weather and obviously being able to visualize it and see it on the screen and all the little graphics they use do way better than sitting here listening to Garrett or myself talk about it. So today, luckily for you guys, since today is day one of weather, we're going to start just jumping into just the basics, just to understand what causes weather. I'm going to actually turn on my screen here so everybody can see it. This document is in the folder for today, week 4, day 3. It is in there. So, but there's several links in here, but today's objective is to understand the Earth's motion and its effects on weather. Talk about regional weather types, and you'll understand what most of these are after you see a lot of the stuff at maritime, continental, polar, tropical, then local weather types, coastal, mountainous, island, and plains, and then the atmosphere characteristics, the layers, the composition, global wind patterns, and ozone. Now, a lot of this, like I said, most of today really is you'll be able to watch some really good videos. And so one thing that we tried to kind of position it today, because obviously we know today is Valentine's Day, and I know that there's probably most of you guys would probably rather be doing something else tonight, spending it with a significant other or whatever than probably on here. So what I'm going to basically do, I know Garrett kind of did yesterday, and just to quickly go over that yesterday, were you guys able to watch the video that he had you guys do yesterday? Or was everybody get that to work for him? And
Mm-hmm.
I got through half of it. I had to do some stuff, so I was doing the homework that he assigned and half of your video. I'm gonna watch the rest of the half tonight after this.
Okay.
Yeah, your class or the presentation had some graphics that we did not use. So it was helpful in augmenting my understanding later in the video on some of the letdowns and the different things like that, and the altitudes over obstacles and the graphics. I'm a visual learner, so those were of interest to me.
Okay, good. Well, today we've got some weather videos, and like I said, today is just kind of really starting to scratch the surface of weather. However, there are a couple of videos, and I will tell you ahead of time. Well, you can see them here on the screen here. Let me scroll down a little bit. There are actually 5 videos. Up here at the top, this first one, does anyone ever watch, is anyone familiar with NOVA or watching NOVA videos, or even know what they are?
I've heard of them before.
Okay.
I don't remember what they look like.
You might, once you start watching the video, you might, oh yeah, NOVA, okay, now I know what that is. They're just a corporation essentially that makes, kind of like National Geographic or even like Discovery. I know you guys have probably heard of those.
I was going to say, do they do documentaries?
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, you probably have, seen a lot of their stuff. But But yeah, I mean, they use those actors to do their narrating and things like that. I mean, just really, really good videos. I'm not sure if any of you guys like. I know probably some of the newer ones that Discovery did. Those has anyone seen the Planet Earth series?
Yes.
So yeah, like those types of videos. That's kind of what these are. I love watching that stuff. I know you were saying you did too, Sierra. And the feedback that I get from like my other classes is that this is some of their most favorite stuff to watch out of everything that we do in this entire course. So I kind of wanted to have it kind of align in today so that you guys can kind of I'm just going to cut you guys loose basically to watch these videos. And this is going to kind of be your day one of weather. But at the same time too, like if there was, something else you guys wanted to, do tonight, or, if you want to put these off and watch them later or tomorrow or something, as long as, it doesn't put you behind, but, just to kind of also give you that option that if you did want to dedicate your time elsewhere on Valentine's, you can as well. But if not, there's these, and I want you to watch them regardless, whether it's now or, a couple of hours from now or in the morning or whenever, like I said, ultimately, I just don't want you guys to get behind. But these two videos, so on the top here, there's the one that here it says Nova version and Discovery version. Those two videos are essentially the exact same video. So you do not need to watch both of them unless you just simply want to. But you can pick either one of those. It's almost interesting because like I've watched both of these and literally it's totally different people and different graphics and things, but they are identical from start to finish, like on what they talk about. It's almost like they got together and did the videos together, but like independently, like made their own version. But other than that though, it's exactly the same. The only thing I will say is that the Nova video is almost 2 hours long. The Discovery one is just barely over an hour and a half. So they're both lengthy. The Nova one just maybe goes into a little tiny bit more detail, but it also kind of has more like pausing, kind of like more theatrical speaking, if that makes sense. Like they talk a little bit slower and take longer to like get to the point. But they do it for theatrical type purposes to like, like if you can imagine like somebody like starting out like the sun, and the earth moves around the sun, just talking slow. And that's the reason why it's probably about 20 or 30 minutes longer than the other one. But anyway, so there's those two. Like I said, you can just pick one of those. Like I said, they're exactly the same. The only reason you would have to watch both is if you wanted to. If you just love them so much, you just want to see both of them, then you can do that for sure. And then the ones after those three below are all really short. I'm talking like no more than 5 or 6 minutes total. So between those two, between one of the two on the top and then the three on the bottom, it's going to cover a good chunk of that stuff that's kind of in today's agenda. The other stuff, I'm going to go back out here into the folder. There's also a reading topic in here, or reading thing. Now, you're going to look at this and you're going to see that it has 27 pages. When you see that, don't freak out. Don't be alarmed. It has a lot of like graphics, and the pages themselves are kind of narrow. You kind of see here, it's kind of bigger font and then a lot of graphics. And like I said, the margins are huge. It's not what it seems as far as the length. It's not like 27 pages of reading for real. It's still a decent amount. However, it's not, like I said, it's not 27 pages of it. So it's probably more like, it's probably between 10 to 15 pages of real reading. So really not that much. So there is that. My preference is that you watch the videos and stuff before you dive into the reading. But in general, whether it be the videos or the reading, um, like I said, you don't have to do it right now, because if there is something else you guys wanted to do tonight instead, then kind of just wanted to leave that open to you guys to be able to do. But just at some point between now and hopefully the next class, if you can fit in the videos and the reading, whenever best fits your schedules, that's kind of what I was going to turn you guys loose to be able to go and do, and kind of just get that basis of the weather theory, and kind of, like I said, the videos are going to do a lot better job than I can probably sitting here, with my monotone voice talking to you guys over a computer. You're going to enjoy the videos a lot more for sure, and obviously kind of do them at your own time frames as well if you'd like. So does anybody have any questions, anything at all on?
Those readings are just in our lesson plans, right?
Yeah, so if you just go to week 4, day
Okay.
3, both of these things are in there. So the links to the videos, if you just click on the outline, the links to the videos are all right in there. You can just click on them. And then the reading is just right next to it. But it's all
Cool.
just right in there. So, yeah, that's...
Any notes, any highlights you want us to?
What I ultimately want you guys to come out with as far as an understanding for today's stuff is just the basic weather theory. So, and I can tell you just, even ahead of time here. So like all of the weather, like on all of the weather in the earth or on earth, all weather is, essentially created by the sun and the uneven heating of the Earth's surface. So that's one thing that you guys are going to want to know. That's an actual quiz question that you guys will have later. And if you want to write it down now, that could be good as well. But one thing that you'll be asked for sure is, what is the cause of all weather in the Earth's atmosphere, or just on Earth in general? And the answer to that question is the sun and the uneven heating of the earth. Now these videos are going to go in and talk about this in a lot more depth than that, but what I want you guys to understand is just take away the basic weather theories that it presents to you throughout these videos. And like I said, the videos are going to go into more depth, and they're going to even go into some subtopics that we don't necessarily talk about, but they all relate to, the earth and the sun, and then ocean currents as an example. I just want you guys to understand the basics of weather creation on the earth. And those basics are literally the sun is the primary thing, the sun and how it unevenly heats the earth. Obviously the sun is spinning around, in some places it's nighttime, and sometimes it's, other areas it's daytime. And because of that, it's hot over here and it's colder over here, and the North Pole and the South Pole, because they rarely see the sun, are both colder. So just a lot of that stuff is already stuff that in your head, but putting it into practice for the weather and why things are the way they are, as far as why are the tropical zones, why is it tropical? At the end of this, what I want you to understand is, what is the cause, and why do we have these different areas on Earth where we have deserts, and we have tropical areas, and we have subtropical areas, and just understanding the basics of the different climates, what causes them, so going back to the sun, and then ocean currents is another big one. Ocean currents, you have warm currents and cold currents, and where they originate from and where they flow. Just even understanding just the sun and the flow of ocean currents alone is going to help you understand weather so much better. Those two ingredients alone, going back to what I was saying earlier about St. George, and understanding the monsoonal effect that the southwestern United States gets every year, just taking the sun, just knowing how the sun works and how ocean currents work will literally answer just that question alone right there for, once you put those two and two together and understand that, the cold currents that flow up through California and then, the timing of the year, the sun, heating out the ocean. And anyway, like I said, the videos will put it together a lot better for you, but I just want you guys to understand the basics and just to, nothing too in depth, but just the basic weather creation theory. And, depending on where you live and the topography of where you live, how that affects the weather in your area. It's like living in St. George, why is it dry? And you should be able to answer most of those questions after, this reading and these videos. But outside of that, just really just the basics. There's not too much, tomorrow we'll kind of review it a little bit and we'll talk about kind of more of the specific things that it went over and looked at, but outside of that, don't worry too much about, there's not a lot as far as like the notes that you need to be jotting down and be worrying about. Just like I said, just the basics, and just as long as you have just an understanding of what they're talking to you about, most of the stuff is going to be pretty interesting. I'm assuming if most people that are interested in dispatch are going to be interested in this stuff just naturally. So a lot of it you're going to just retain because it's interesting to watch. And like I said, the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of the other classes is that this is one of the parts that they like the best because of all of these little videos and things like that we go through when we watch and get to study. So hopefully that answers your question without,
It does.
sending
Thank
you
you.
down too much of a wrong path. But yeah, just like I said, just the basics of weather and how the spinning of the earth and the sun's uneven heating and ocean currents, just you'll see it.
And I got, sorry, continue, sorry, what was that?
Oh, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say really quick, if you don't mind, just writing down what you wanted us to write down on the messages, that way I can kind of just write those down real quick.
Okay.
Just when you have time. I don't want to interrupt anything.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was even saying, I think, was just the, one of the quiz questions I know of. But the other thing is we'll talk more about that actually specifically tomorrow. Today, really all I want you guys to worry about is just going through the reading and watching the videos. There's not going to be anything that's going to be hidden anywhere in there that, it's going to be like a quiz item that you're not going to know or that we won't review tomorrow, if that makes sense. So don't worry too much about it. The only one that I even said, Matt, was just, I know one of the quiz questions is just about the sun and the uneven heating of the Earth's surface. That is the primary cause of weather on our planet, is the sun and the uneven heating of the Earth's surface. So if you wanted to write that down, then write that. But other than that, don't worry about too much, as far as what you need to know and what you don't, because everything that you need to know, you'll see in there, but it's not going to be something that will need to be pointed out though either, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because we're going to draw all of this weather in together as we move on, and this little part, the weather is a ton of information, and like I said, we're going to spend 6 or 7 days on this. So this is just the first little part of it. And if there was a quiz question, like I said, the only quiz question I can even think of that comes from like day one weather theory is just that one about the sun. And if there's another one, then, we'll obviously throw it in, we'll talk about it tomorrow, and obviously it'll be on the review and everything else. But I think that's probably the only one though. So.
You know what I found interesting was, since we're talking about weather, I don't know if this pertains to weather, but a lot of people have been asking me lately, why is the sky blue? Like, why specifically blue? if the sun is yellow orangish.
Yeah, well, you'll probably learn that today.
That's something I've always wanted to figure out. So,
Yeah, and a lot of people will argue with you and they say it's actually not blue. That's just a reflection. So, which is true. So, but yeah, I'll without spoiling any of it, I'll let you watch the videos, and unless anybody has a question on what the expectation is between now and tomorrow, then ask now or forever hold your peace. But I think everyone probably has a good idea of what they need to do, and hopefully all of you guys enjoy your Valentine's Day, and hopefully if you have something else that you want to go do tonight, then please do it and enjoy yourselves. And if not, if nothing else, I know you're going to enjoy the videos. So,
oh, well, have a good Valentine's night, I guess, man. Have a good night.
all right, you guys
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah, no problem. You guys enjoy your night, and everyone knows how to get a hold of me if they need anything. So,
Yep.
all right, guys.
Thanks, Adam.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.